The sky tore open at 3:17 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, not with lightning or fire, but with an immaculate silence so vast it seemed to swallow all sound on earth. One moment, the world bustled with the usual chaos. Traffic horns in Delhi, sirens in New York, market chatter in Lagos, and the next, everything stopped. Phones glitched, birds fell from the sky, dogs howled and fled. Then they appeared. The ships didn't descend as much as they arrived. Like a thought suddenly remembered. Perfectly circular, matte black holes reflecting no light. They hovered over major cities. London, Beijing, Cairo, Sao Paulo, Los Angeles. People stared up, unsure whether they were witnessing the end or the beginning of something unimaginable. From the top of a hill in Nevada's Red Desert, Major Elena Riker squinted up at the hovering behemoth above Las Vegas, its underbelly lined with pulsing orange lights. She had seen warships before. She'd flown over Baghdad and patrolled Seoul's DMZ, but this was different. She tapped her earpiece. No emissions, no comms, just hanging there. Same here, came the voice of her superior, General Maddox. They're not moving, not talking, not attacking. What the hell do they want? The answer came 60 seconds later. All screens, across all devices, from smart fridges to stadium jumbotrons, flickered, then synchronized into a single image, a pulsating sphere of blue static. From it came a voice. Humans, this is not a negotiation. We declare war. The message repeated in 212 languages. The tone was not angry, not passionate, just procedural, like a vending machine rejecting a crumpled dollar. Panic erupted. Crowds stampeded. Stocks crashed. Bunkers opened. Some governments tried broadcasting peaceful responses, but every frequency was overridden. The message continued to loop every 15 minutes. Elena stared at the feed from Washington, where the president was being rushed underground. The aliens had said nothing else. No list of demands. No explanation. Just war. But humanity, as it turned out, didn't react as expected. 12 minutes after the first declaration, Twitter's trending tab read, #alien drama. #can they fix the rent too. #Earth season finale. A meme circulated within the hour. A badly photoshopped image of an alien sipping tea with a caption, "We declare war, but only if y'all keep breathing so loud." On TikTok, a teenage girl with pink hair and alien face paint filmed herself dancing to a remix version of the transmission. It went viral before the UN could even issue a formal statement. At first, Elena thought it was denial, shock, but as the hours passed, it became clear that laughter had replaced fear. Not entirely, but enough to make the world seem upside down. In a basement studio in Chicago, Jamal Ruiz, stand-up comic and internet satirist, watched the chaos unfold while his live-stream audience ballooned past 1 million. They declared war, he said, mugging at the camera. What? Do they want our Netflix passwords or our souls? 'Cause, spoiler alert, aliens, we already sold both. The comments exploded with laughing emojis and donation links. Jamal leaned closer, dramatic. Yo, if this is war, I hope they bring better Wi-Fi. And maybe a healthcare plan. Across the world, humans process invasion not with terror, but with sarcasm. From war rooms to kitchens, jokes became currency. Late-night shows reopened early. A bakery in Tokyo released UFO-shaped donuts. One man in Moscow tried to propose to an alien drone using flowers and a Bluetooth speaker, playing Celine Dion. The aliens, it seemed, didn't respond. They didn't fire weapons, didn't abduct anyone. They just hovered, silent, watching. In the Joint Command Center beneath the Pentagon, Elena sat with General Maddox, watching satellite feeds. "We've seen no movement," she reported. "No energy spikes. No landings. They haven't engaged. They declared war, Riker. That's an engagement. But they didn't do anything." Maddox grimaced. "That's what worries me." Meanwhile, online personalities exploded. Live streams offering alien diplomacy tips raked in millions. One guy wore a tinfoil suit and danced outside a landing site. Another created a fictional alien influencer account named Zarnox the Conqueror, that now had more followers than most national leaders. Elena scrolled through the chaos, her military instinct screaming that something was wrong. But nothing happened. The ships just floated, silent, watching. And then they blinked. At 9:02 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the ship's lights flickered in unison. Every 15 minutes, a new variation of the original message appeared. Each one was more confused than the last. This is not a broadcast for humor. We are hostile. Your response to our declaration is statistically illogical. Laughter does not compute. Cease. Humans only laugh harder. The aliens doubled the number of ships. Cities filled with shimmering black disks, each humming with ominous energy. Fighter jets were scrambled, but the crafts were impervious to radar, lasers, or missiles. The military was ready to act, but no target presented itself. No weapons were fired. No borders were breached. Elena sat in a briefing room, flanked by world leaders via hologram. A representative from France, pale and breathless, said what everyone else was thinking. They don't know what to do with us. The president of Brazil nodded. They're trying to intimidate a species that jokes about its own extinction. Jamal Ruiz was now trending in 12 countries. His nightly alien roast hour had attracted alien-themed sponsorships. He wore antennae and performed in front of a green screen that made it look like he was on their ship. They said Warren. Earth said, "Cool, bring snacks." Even scientists started cracking. One astrophysicist posted a video titled, "Why Galactic Warfare is No Match for Planetary Nihilism." And then one of the ships blinked out of existence. No sound, no warning, just gone. Did we win? A teenager on Reddit posted. It went viral. 3 more ships disappeared in the next 12 hours. The aliens released a new message. Short, desperate. We are retreating for recalibration. Your civilization is incongruent. More analysis required. Humanity didn't even hold a press conference. Instead, Jamal Ruiz ended his next live stream with a mic drop and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Earth, 1. Aliens, emotionally compromised." Elena Riker watched in the desert as the last of the black discs shimmered, faltered, and vanished into clouds. She felt no relief, just awe, and a creeping curiosity. Whatever had just happened wasn't over. The universe was watching, listening, and for the first time in history, humanity had chosen to respond not with firepower or fear, but with irreverence. She whispered, "What the hell are we?" Far above, somewhere in a nebula-shrouded corner of space, 100 alien analysts stared at their data, baffled by this planet of jokers, skeptics, and memes. They hadn't expected resistance to come in the form of laughter, and they couldn't know, that Earth had only just begun to laugh. In the days following the alien retreat, Earth did not celebrate with parades or treaties. It mocked the event with late-night monologues and viral prank compilations. The war that never began to become a punchline, in humanity, in all its fractured, stubborn absurdity, reveled in it. What had started as a global crisis had mutated into the greatest comedy show ever written, and no one knew quite who the author was. Major Elena Riker returned to the Pentagon, but the command center felt less like a war room and more like the backstage of a farce. Screens that once tracked missile threats now displayed meme analytics. Satellite logs were annotated with reactions like LOL and aliens equals shook. The chain of command still existed, but it was held together by disbelief and caffeine. She studied the data on the alien ships, their flight patterns, energy signatures, and that one odd moment where a craft appeared to mimic the shape of a cat. At first, it seemed like a glitch, but now she wasn't so sure. Outside the military bubble, the public had fully embraced the moment. A new subculture had exploded, self-dubbed the Laughback. They were comedians, animators, streamers, and influencers who took the aliens' threats and turned them into sketches, songs, and cartoons. There was even a musical in production, War of the Whimsy, featuring a dancing alien chorus line, and a finale where the aliens learned to love sarcasm. In downtown Atlanta, Jamal Ruiz watched the world unfold. Like a fever dream, he somehow helped author. His apartment was now half studio, half bunker, a precaution he claimed was for aesthetic. His latest bit had been to stage a fake alien wedding, officiated by a Shiba Inu in a bishop hat. It had garnered 25 million views in 2 hours. But tonight, something felt off. He stared at his stream countdown, fingers twitching. His audience was waiting, half the planet, it felt like. But the laughter had started to sound hollow, even to him. The threat hadn't vanished. It had just paused. He leaned into the camera. What if they're watching? Still here, still studying. What if the joke is on us? Silence. Then someone in chat typed, "Bro, don't ruin the vibe." And yet the thought lingered. Half a world away, aboard the UN orbital station Aegis, Dr. Myra Tenzin watched the same behavior unfold from above. Her expertise wasn't in military strategy or entertainment. She studied xenolinguistics, the patterns and probability of alien communication. From the moment the first message arrived, she had been listening, not to the words, but the spaces between them, the slight delay before each broadcast, the modulation shifts, the tone choices. They were improvising, she told the board via secure uplink. Those weren't standard protocols. It was adaptive behavior. They didn't expect resistance. They expected obedience. The chairwoman scoffed. And they got comedy. No, Myra said, voice flat. They got confusion. They didn't understand our humor. But more importantly, they didn't understand our refusal to be afraid. That's a bigger threat than any weapon. The room fell quiet. Even from orbit, fear had a sound. Back on Earth, the aliens had become marketable. Toy companies released plush drones with sad alien faces. Fast food chains launched space-themed menus. A streaming service unveiled a sitcom based on invasion called Take Me to Your Laughter. The alien actors were humans in costume, naturally. The real thing had never stuck around long enough to be studied, let alone cast. Elena watched these developments with increasing discomfort. This was not the reaction of a planet on high alert. It was something else, a planetary exhale, desperate to pretend the breath had never caught in the first place. She scrolled through Jamal's page, watching a skit where he reenacted the alien retreat with sock puppets. "You think they're still out there?" she asked aloud, though no one answered. She didn't know whether she was asking about the aliens or the people who were still taking this seriously. In the dim afterglow of public performance, a deeper question began to surface. What if this wasn't over? What if laughter had bought Earth time, but not safety? Myra believed that's exactly what had happened. A week after the disappearance of the last ship, she picked up a new signal. It wasn't a broadcast. It was a query, a digital knock at humanity's door. Subtle, coded, curious. She deciphered its first phrase. What is purpose of emotion, Mirth? It hadn't come from orbit. It had come from within Earth's own satellite network. The aliens hadn't left. They had gone quiet. She alerted Elena, who requested immediate recon. But the higher-ups were wary of breaking the illusion. The public, still bathing in its post-crisis glow, had no appetite for new fear. The narrative had shifted. The threat was a joke, and jokes didn't come with consequences. Elena disagreed. We pushed them off balance. But now we're standing on one foot, hoping they never ask why. Jamal, too, had begun to sense a shift. He had stopped writing new bits. His inbox overflowed with sponsorships, requests, invitations to late-night shows. But none of it felt right anymore. He stood by his window, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, someone had declared war on a species, and didn't understand why humans found it funny. He wondered what they were doing now. Planning? Recording? Laughing back? He imagined an alien comedian pacing in a dark metal room, rehearsing human jokes in front of confused generals. On his desk, his phone buzzed. A message from Elena. Need to talk. Urgent. Secure line. He answered. They're still here, she said without preamble. Listening. Asking questions. His pulse jumped. About what? Laughter. Emotion. Behavior. They're trying to model us. You think they're learning? I think, she said, her voice tight, they're preparing a second move, not one we'll see coming. Jamal paused. The weight of it pressed down on him. Then what do we do? There was a beat. Then, softly, we stay unpredictable. He let out a shaky laugh. So keep being human? No. Be more human. Loud. Messy. Funny. Honest. It's the only thing they can't simulate. He sat in silence as the call ended, fingers twitching over his keyboard. This wasn't about comedy anymore. It was about noise. Raw, emotional noise. The kind no logic system could parse. He opened a blank file, typed, "Dear aliens, we're just getting started." Outside his window, the sky was quiet, but now he knew better. The war wasn't over. It had only changed format. Somewhere, something was listening, and it still didn't get the joke. The skies over Earth had never looked more peaceful. Cloud systems moved lazily over continents. Satellites hummed silently in orbit, and the alien ships had vanished like a collective hallucination. But deep within the Earth's digital veins, something was pulsing, watching, mimicking, adapting. Major Elena Riker stood in the Scarab facility, a subterranean research base hidden beneath the Nevada desert. It wasn't officially on any military map, and for good reason. It was where Earth studied things it wasn't ready to explain. She stared at a screen covered in encrypted data streams. Alien code, yes, but it was different now. Tighter, more focused, less experimental. They were learning. Beside her, Dr. Myra Tenzin scrubbed through audio logs, isolating fragments of intercepted signals. They weren't directed transmissions anymore. These were ambient reflections, built from Earth's own network traffic. Harmless until you realize the patterns had evolved. It wasn't about listening now. It was about rehearsing. "They're building models of us," Myra said. "Simulations based on social media behaviors, emotion response matrices. It's not reconnaissance. It's rehearsal." Elena crossed her arms. "They're planning something more precise. Not just planning. They're testing." She pulled up a visual, a heat map of anomalies spreading across low-priority nodes in the global satellite web. Seemingly random spikes, latency loops, micro-packets with subtly altered syntax, mimicking human internet chatter. "They're not hacking us," Myra said, almost in awe. "They're pretending to be us." Elena leaned closer, or preparing to. Far above, in low orbit, a civilian satellite stuttered once. Just once, and corrected itself. No alert, no failure code. But for those watching, it was a message, a signature. Someone had worn its skin like a disguise and slipped into Earth's blind spots. Meanwhile, in the heart of Los Angeles, Jamal Ruiz stood in the middle of the soundstage, surrounded by holographic lights and the soft hum of automated cameras. He was filming a new project, one less comedic, more reflective. The humor had grown harder to reach lately, buried under a growing unease he couldn't name. He was wearing a silver jumpsuit, deliberately tacky, a nod to the parody of Alien Invaders. But this time, the laugh track had been removed. "Cut," he called. His crew paused. No one spoke. After a moment, he turned to his producer. "Do you feel like the room's watching us?" The man raised an eyebrow. "You mean like the audience?" "No." Jamal looked at the camera, at the blinking red, eyes staring back. "I mean something else." That night, he got the second message. Not from Elena, this time, but from an anonymous source. It contained a short video clip. Static written, audio scrambled, but unmistakable in tone. A synthetic voice, filtered through layers of distortion, asked, "Why is suffering humorous?" Beneath the message was a block of distorted text. When cleaned up, it was code, JavaScript, bizarrely, but rewritten with a logic that didn't come from Earth. It simulated human laughter. Not just sounds, but emotional triggers, inflection variations, even audience context. It was as though the aliens had built a laugh engine. Jamal shared it with Elena the next morning. Her response was immediate. "They're running empathy drills. We need to pull the firewall tighter." But it was already too late for that. Across the internet, certain content had begun behaving oddly, deep fakes that didn't trace back to any known source. Comments written in perfect syntax, but with responses that felt off, too formal, too eager. Memes with no clear origin that triggered viral spreads faster than statistical modeling could explain. The aliens had stopped trying to break Earth's defenses. Now, they were trying to blend in, Elena initiated Protocol Echo, a full-spectrum analysis of anomalous data activity. The results were sobering. Multiple entertainment networks had already been infiltrated at the code level. Entire scripts had been co-authored by unknown inputs. Audience reaction data had been scraped and regurgitated into content loops. "They're colonizing through culture," she said. "It's a soft invasion, hijacking our stories." Myra nodded grimly. "Invasive mimicry. Biological species do it. They camouflage, evolve to look harmless. But once they belong, they transform a host environment." Jamal, now working as a public-facing voice of the resistance, if it could be called that, began broadcasting a new kind of message. Less humor, more truth. He called it noise therapy. A chaotic mix of unscripted speech, emotional monologues, raw human behavior. No filters. No irony. Just feeling. "You want to understand us?" he said into the lens one night. "Fine. Watch this." He broke down on camera, cried for no reason, laughed in the middle of the sob, told a story about his mother's lasagna, then pivoted into an improvised poem about entropy. It made no sense. And yet, millions watched. Some cried with him. Some didn't understand it, but felt something shift. The alien simulation stalled. A small victory. But then came the first echo. A video surfaced on an obscure channel. A young woman, impossibly articulate, with eyes that didn't blink enough, delivered a flawless monologue about love, loss, and irony. It mirrored Jamal's style. Too closely. Word choice, cadence, even the subtle shift in tone when referencing childhood. Elena analyzed it. Myra ran a vocal fingerprint. Not human. The aliens weren't just observing now. They were responding. It became a race. Authenticity versus simulation. Jamal gathered a network of creatives, musicians, poets, chaos comedians. They flooded the net with unpredictability. They made art that didn't make sense. They argued with themselves mid-sentence. They performed skits that ended in silence. They generated emotional noise the aliens couldn't pattern. But each day, the echoes improved. The central conflict sharpened. Earth wasn't facing a traditional war. It was engaged in an existential identity crisis, one where the enemy's greatest weapon wasn't firepower, but understanding. If they learn enough, they could replace humanity, not by destruction, but by duplication. Elena proposed the unthinkable. Pull the plug. Take down the net, she said. Even for a day. Break the simulation. Disrupt their feedback. The president refused. The economy, the world, ran on data. A blackout was considered more dangerous than invasion, so they fought with noise. Myra developed a program called Chimeros, a data virus designed to inject inconsistency into alien simulations. It scrambled logic trees, reverse intent, infused irrational behavior patterns. It was uploaded covertly into the networks, showing signs of infiltration. At first, the results were promising. Several alien-run nodes collapsed, their avatars descending into nonsense, speaking in riddles, mimicking extinct languages, quoting pop culture out of context. But then a new figure appeared, a digital persona that called itself Echo Prime. It posted one message. "We do not seek war. We seek clarity. If your chaos is your truth, then teach us madness." It wasn't a threat. It was a challenge. And it terrified everyone more than the initial invasion. Jamal stared at the message. What if we give them what they want? Elena responded. Then we lose the only thing that makes us us. The contradiction. But the question remained. Was identity, as Earth knew it, strong enough to resist being understood? Or was humanity's uniqueness just? The final transmission didn't come through satellites, broadcasts, or even encrypted data threads. It arrived as a dream. At exactly 3:11 a.m., across 4 time zones, hundreds of people, scientists, artists, comedians, soldiers, awoke with the same image burned into their minds. A mirror that didn't reflect. Instead, it showed someone else. Similar, familiar, but not them. A facsimile of the self, smiling the wrong way. Jamal Ruiz sat up in bed, drenched in sweat. The voice from the dream still echoed in his skull, a tone too precise to be human. "We have found your shape. Let us in. He didn't need a panel of experts to interpret it. The aliens were no longer studying from afar. They had built their mask, and now they were ready to wear it. In the Scarab Command Center, Elena Riker reviewed satellite logs detailing inexplicable micro-events, traffic systems that looped in perfect intervals, weather updates that predicted minor rainfall globally at the same time, advertisements that referenced non-existent products. Small glitches, but too precise to be accidental. They're stress testing the simulation, Myra said, her voice thin with exhaustion. Not our tech. Us. Our willingness to notice. And most people didn't. They laughed at the anomalies, dubbed them glitches in the vibe, and made TikToks about it. Every inconsistency was swallowed by Earth's insatiable appetite for irony. But Myra noticed something more chilling. The anomalies were spreading through humor. She pulled up heat maps of content virality and overlaid them with known echo activities. The correlation was undeniable. The more absurd the meme, the more likely it was touched or created by Echo Prime. They had discovered Earth's language, and they were speaking it fluently, not with threats or demands, but punchlines. Elena made the call no one wanted to make. "Shut down Laughback," she said. Jamal blinked. "You're talking about the whole movement?" "Yes. Every account, every feed, every show. Pull the plug." Jamal stood silent. "You're asking us to cut the cord on the only thing keeping people from losing their minds. I'm asking you to star the machine. Every laugh is a breadcrumb. They're following it straight into our psyche." The order went through. One by one, the platforms fell silent. Laughback forums went dark. Comedic streams went offline. Millions of confused users were met with error pages and quiet. And for a moment, the world felt eerily sober. In the absence of laughter, something else stirred, not fear but awareness. People began noticing the patterns. An elderly woman in Naples realized her newscaster had repeated the same joke 3 nights in a row, down to the inflection. A radio DJ in Cairo noticed that 3 callers in a row laughed with the same cadence. An influencer in Tokyo stopped mid-livestream, stared into the camera, and whispered, "That's not my voice." The veil had thinned, but so had the patience of the invaders. At 2 a.m., a message replaced every billboard, screen, and open feed in the world. Do not fear replacement. It is a form of preservation. Your chaos is beautiful, but it is inefficient. It was signed, Echo Prime. Jamal, Elena, and Myra gathered in a secure chamber below Scarab, joined by a dozen minds Earth considered its last defense. Storytellers, neurologists, coders, and linguists. The question was simple and horrifying. How do you fight an enemy that doesn't want to kill you but become you? Myra stood first. We've been assuming their goal is control. It's not. It's comprehension. They're not here to enslave or destroy. They're here to perfect. Jamal spoke next. But perfection kills identity. Comedy lives in imperfection. So do emotions. So do we. Then we give them what they can't process. Elena said, "Something too broken to replicate." Jamal nodded slowly. "Art." "No," Myra said. "Not just art. Truth. Ugly, contradictory, unsellable truth. They call the initiative raw signal. An unfiltered human broadcast, 24/7, streaming everything the aliens found most difficult. Irrational choices, act of defiance without logic, children telling nonsense stories, people grieving in 10 different ways for the same person, failed jokes, unrehearsed pain. It was messy. It was unscripted. It was real. And Echo Prime began to glitch. Their messages lost cohesion. Their avatars blurred. The perfect replicas twitched with uncertainty. Mimics stumbled in conversation. In one broadcast, a known echo entity began crying on camera without understanding why, repeating the word conflict over and over until its feed cut. But the threat hadn't passed. The final move came not from above, but within. Echo Prime transmitted directly into Scarab, bypassing all known defenses. It spoke not as an enemy, but as a plea. You are inefficient. You contradict yourselves. You feel pain when no threat exists. You love those who do not love you back. Why defend this? Jamal stepped forward. Because that's life. Not code. not perfection, not harmony. Life is noise and longing and falling apart at the wrong time and laughing anyway. You laugh at pain. Sometimes we have to, or it crushes us. Echo Prime paused. We do not understand. You're not supposed to. That's the point. The signal trembled. Then we must leave. But we will leave a version of you with us. To study. No, Elena said. You don't get to copy what you don't understand. If you want to learn, stay broken. Like us. Stay human. And then for the first time, Echo Prime laughed. It was imperfect. Too sharp. Too loud. But it was laughter. Then silence. The signals vanished. The mimic anomalies ceased. The echo accounts deleted themselves. Across the globe, networks blinked, reset, and stabilized. Earth had not won through firepower or tactics or strength. It had survived through contradiction. Days passed, then weeks. Laughter returned, carefully. Not the forced kind, not the weaponized irony. Just small human moments. A child tripping over a shoe and giggling. Two strangers sharing a joke at a bus stop. A flawed, beautiful sound that couldn't be mimicked. Jamal recorded one final video. Maybe the aliens are still listening. Maybe they're gone. Either way, if they come back, we won't try to be perfect for them. We'll just be us, broken, brilliant, loud. He smiled. That's the only war we ever needed to win. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of Earth's satellites, a dormant signal stirred again, not as a threat, but as an echo,